I would like to just advise all people.
Good evening, everyone. Technical issues up the front here. I'll declare the meeting open at, 1 minute past 7, and thank you all for your attendance tonight. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the past and present traditional custodians of the land on which we meet, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and I pay my respects to Aboriginal elders past, present and always. We have with us tonight, we have a mostly full complement of councillors, thank you very much, and a full complement of executive directors and of course our CEO. We have a leave of absence previously granted to Councillor Silver. So thank you for other councillors coming along tonight. Advice of response to previous public questions taken on notice. There isn't any. Brings us to public question time. We do have 15 minutes allowed for public questions. If anyone would like to ask a question, could they come up to the microphone? Please state your name and address and ask your question. If there are no questions, we'll move through public question time and move to deputations, which we have 3 tonight. So 5 minutes, I believe, is being given to each of the deputations tonight. So the first one that we received was from Stockland. So if you would like to step up to the microphone, representatives, and your 5 minutes starts nowish. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mayor. My name's Cole Dutton. I'm the General Manager for Stockland here in WA. I've got Louise Nazareth, who's the Project Director, looks after a number of activist communities across Perth, also a couple here at Sienna Wood and also up the road at what we call Wildflower and Quarter Wharton Road. Also a couple of consultants that we might want to call on later on if you've got any hard questions. Andreas Biditskin, who is our environmental consultant, and Chris Elms, who's our engineer who does the Sienna Wood and has been heavily involved in this design of Forest Road. Just quickly, we've got a couple of slides. If we can just go to the first slide. I'll talk to the first couple of slides, then Louise can talk to the detail that comes after that. That's a good picture, actually, of Shipwreck Park. It's actually, I drove past Shipwreck Park tonight and looked at, that was basically a denuded earthworks a few years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and it's got fantastic tree cover now and growing through the open space. A lot of the work that we do is converting what is cow paddocks around Sienna Wood, mainly cow paddocks, into communities, and a lot of that is open space. The words up there on the screen, basically Sienna Wood, which is the larger part of Wollongong Master Plan, it's 3,800 lots, but it's also got within its area, 39% of it is open space. So Stockland spends tens of millions of dollars over the period of the community that we're curating, spending money on vegetation, revegetation and maintaining vegetation through Sienna Wood. What we've got at the moment, and this is after, I think, 2008, Stockland have been involved in Sienna Wood. At this point in time, major infrastructure is coming to bear over the next year, all going well, which includes upgrading of Forest Road, the town centre. Stockland is actually looking to start a town centre very shortly in the next couple of months, and also the primary school, which we've been asking it for since the start of the community, which Tony Booty actually helped us with as the Education Minister, and that kicks off January, the year after next, January 26. Just go to the next slide. What we're talking about tonight, and we're in favour of the recommendation that came through from the Technical and Services Committee last week, is really to make sure that we bring the infrastructure on that allows the increasing traffic that is being created from the community, but also from the traffic that runs from left to right from Tonkin Highway through to Armadale. In regard to the town centre, obviously it's creating traffic, but certainly the community, these decisions, and I empathise with the council, these decisions have to be made as a growth area forms. We're well across the growth of the city, having been involved in the city for more than 20 years, particularly up at Piara Waters in Harrisdale. We realise these decisions are hard, but infrastructure decisions are important in regard to developing communities. I'll hand over to Louise.
So just to add to that, the Forest Road upgrade has been planned for circa 20 years now. It's known and well established through the planning framework, and the works that we're looking to undertake are consistent with that process. It's an existing road, so there's a whole number of site constraints as well as design standards that have influenced the design process. We've worked iteratively with the City of Armadale's Tech Services team over the last 2 years to form up this design process, and we do not believe there are any other viable design options that would result in greater tree retention than what we have proposed and put forward, and that's consistent with the officer's assessment of it. It was very clearly outlined to us 2 years ago when we embarked on this journey that tree retention was a key objective of council and the city, and we have sought to meet that at any and all cost. However, there are engineering standards that align to road safety objectives, and the road reserve is an existing one. So there are so many constraints that drive the overall design. If we can just jump to the next slide. The tree clearing is clearly outlined in the report, so I won't labour on it, but I think the key thing to emphasise here is elements of this are within private land holdings, not all within the city's road reserve, and these have all approvals already in place and could hypothetically be removed tomorrow, irrespective. And that's consistent with all the planning and design work that's been undertaken over years. As Cole's mentioned, we support the Tech Services Committee recommendation to endorse the clearing permit for the 9 trees that require going for assessment to DWER. That would enable upgrade of the 11th and Forest Road intersection. If we can jump to the next slide. Road safety has been mentioned a few times, and we did detail it in quite a bit of detail at our Tech Services deputation last week. I guess what's important to understand is the existing intersection at 11th and Forest is a black spot currently. It doesn't meet the existing needs of the community, and it certainly won't in several years' time. In undertaking the road upgrade, we're seeking to address the increased traffic and pressure that's going to come by 2026 between the shopping centre opening, the 1,000-student primary school, and the 4,000 homes that will be delivered already by then in Hilbert and Haynes. The existing road network simply cannot cater for that, and that's well established within the community. Stockland is looking to undertake these works on behalf of the city. The city is ultimately responsible for this road upgrade, and should we not proceed with it, it will be the city's administration having to deliver it, which would, and I guess in the absence of us undertaking this road upgrade, we have a very strong view, supported by technical advice submitted to the city, that there would be increased crash frequency and severity in the locations, increased liability risk for the city, potential commercial damages, certainly delays in delivery, which has been seen by the community at 8th Road as well, which has been an ongoing project I'm aware of. I'm not sure at what point in time this road upgrade will be delivered if Stockland does not deliver it per the designs that have been tabled. And this would all come at a greater cost to ratepayers. I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. If I could now have, are there any questions for our deputation councillors? If there's no questions, thank you very much for your deputation, and we'll move now to the McGovern Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. My name's Andrew McGovern. I'm the Managing Director of the McGovern Foundation. I have Angela Murphy with me, our Business Development Manager. Just with the McGovern Foundation, I've worked for over 20 years in the disadvantaged community. Through that time, I identified the fact how difficult it is and how many barriers there are around people obtaining a driver's licence. And through identifying those aspects, we come up with the Wanderer Driver Mentor Program, which works with individuals side by side for over 50 hours in the car. Part of our strategy towards employing our staff is that we employ mentors or people with mentor experience, and we can provide driver training to our staff to assist our participants. We currently have a very strong relationship with the Department of Transport, where we've been invited to run a pilot program in Perth. This program is to deliver community service in partnership with the Department of Transport. Currently we have around 250 participants participating at the moment. We've just reached 400 driver's licences in our 3 years of driving. We've got roughly around about a 70 to 80% employment rate with our participants who obtain their driver's licence. We've nearly reached 20,000 supervised driving hours in our time. I can't think of anything else. Angela, you got anything?
With that as well, you can drive off your fines, your court fines. So we've cleared nearly $85,000 worth of court fines as well. And just, I know a lot of people think it's just a driver's licence. So I just want to share with you a couple of examples of the impact that our program has. So obviously the main one is employment opportunities. It increases those. We had Mavis, who was a family of 8. Not one single person in her house had their licence. We helped her get a licence. We then also helped her get a job with Mineral Resources. She's been working there for 18 months and just secured a traineeship. We also helped her mum get a licence, who'd been driving for 20 years without a licence. She also got a promotion at work because she gained her licence as well. So that's a great employment outcome. Social and community participation, which is really important in terms of mental health and feeling isolated. So we had Zaina, who actually lives nearby here. She held a learner's permit for 13 years because she didn't have someone to help her support get a licence or pay for driving lessons. If you needed to pay for all your supervised hours and your licence, you'd be looking at about $5,000 if you didn't have a family member that could help you do your supervised driving hours. So she had a learner's permit for 13 years, and Andrew actually helped her get her licence, did her lessons with her. And the first thing she said is, one, she's going to enrol her kids in community sport. So the impact of kids being able to go into community sports and what that helps lifelong, and also drop her kids to school and not have to rely on other people. Increased access to education and training. We had Dwayne, who after he got his licence drove himself to a FIFO course out at the airport and is now working on the mines. We also helped him with his resume and all those sorts of things, and his tickets and that. Ability to care for family members and transporting children and access to medical services. This has been a really big one, and probably one we didn't realise at the time of starting the foundation. But we have Faye, who's 73. It's the first time she's ever held a driver's licence. The reason she got her licence is so she can drive her husband to dialysis 4 times a week. Just independence for young people. We've got Daryl, who's unemployed, had really low self-esteem and depression, was never leaving his room, let alone his house. We helped him get his licence, sitting in a car for 50 hours with a mentor. Our mentors talk to them about everything, help them with their anxiety, ways to help those sorts of things. He's now enrolled in a construction course, goes and visits his family on the other side of Perth. And the last one is Catherine. She was able to flee a violent relationship where her car was actually used against her to control her. It was actually her car that she wasn't allowed to drive. We helped her. Our lessons, you can drive to appointments, so we actually used her lessons and she drove to her counselling sessions as part of her lesson. So she drove herself there with our mentor, then we'd go back and pick her up. We actually help a lot of women at women's refuges as well, getting a licence, because it helps with their independence. That's all. As you all know, we've expressed interest in the Reg Williams Pavilion for the last 12 months. So, yeah, thank you for your time. Just if there are any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for the McGovern Foundation, councillors? If not, thank you very much. And we will move now to Minowara House. Could representatives please come forward?
I'm going to put my timer on as well. Thank you, Mayor, for the opportunity to speak this evening. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on this land I'm speaking on, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. My name is Julianne Jusky. My background includes managing and reporting on economic development programs in a region in New Zealand. So I understand a little bit about working with government and the importance of measuring performance against key performance indicators, and obviously strategic plan deliverables is what they're called here. I have been a general member of the board of Minowara House for just 1 month, but I have loved and interacted with Minowara House for many years. With me tonight is Sam Craig, president of our board, who knows more than I do, if you have any questions later, and Brad Burgess is secretary of our board, sitting next to us. I would like to thank councillors Busby and Sargison for directing me initially to you, Mayor Butterfield, a month ago, and I would like to thank you, Mayor, and later Rebecca Milnes for recently meeting with Sam and myself. And Mayor Butterfield, may I please speak frankly? As you know, it is from these meetings that we as a board have learned just how damaged is the relationship between us and the City Council, and our part in this relationship breakdown cannot and will not continue. So my first point of business is that on behalf of the board of Minowara House, I would like to say that we are horrified that we have treated you with disrespect, on top of a lack of appreciation for the support that you have given us over many years. And we want to take this opportunity tonight to publicly apologise to the city councillors and staff, and to say that we are fully committed to changing things. So, regardless of anything else that I achieve tonight, on behalf of the board of Minowara House, I humbly ask that you accept our heartfelt apology and promise to do much better. Now, it has come to our attention that some in our City Council do not fully understand what we do and what we contribute to the Armadale community. So I will quickly go through some of that for you. To address that, we'll start with saying that Minowara House brings into the Armadale community over $500,000 annually in grants from the State Department of Communities. This comes in the form of 3 funding agreements, and all 3 types of Minowara House services need to operate to fulfil those requirements. There's the Empowering Communities funding, which includes outreach programs and running various groups. It's, for many of us, that's all that we actually have really realised or thought that Minowara House was about. However, Oh, and in regard to the empowering communities and the groups, we ran 355 sessions with an average attendance of 9 people per session. Now, the 2 other funding streams include 2 types of counselling and therapy programs, which incorporate individual and family counselling and group programs for teenagers. These programs are provided free of charge or low cost to the community. And with this funding in 2023, we delivered 471 youth counselling sessions, 629 family support sessions. And I'd like you all to note that we have all of our counsellors and therapists have current, relevant counselling qualifications, and we keep client records confidential and secure as required. Now, I do not have time this evening to talk about support letters that we have from the likes of Sydney Phillips, Matt Keogh, Kelmscott Senior High School, Gosnells Community Legal Centre, and Palmerston Alcohol and Drug Services. So for the sake of time, we have forwarded these to the council, and we believe that these letters of support have been emailed today to all of the councillors. Please note that these letters, plus others of support, were attached to our expression of interest to continue on at our current venue that we compiled and submitted last year. I will mention excerpts from 2 of these letters though. Firstly, from Sydney Phillips. He's a local artist, teacher and Aboriginal mentor. Sydney in his letter says that he is where he is today largely because of Minowara House supported him when he needed it most. He says he cannot imagine where he would be today if it were not for the kindness, understanding and support offered to him by Minowara House. That letter was dated September last year. The second excerpt is also dated September last year by Matt Keogh, the federal member for Burt. He wrote that Minowara House provides important services to the community, catering to the most vulnerable, diverse populations, including First Nation individuals and families, people with disabilities and disadvantaged infants, young children, teenagers and seniors. Minowara House's current premises has required over $1 million worth of renovations to make it functional for use. He says that this funding has included needed renovations to build an extension to make it more suitable for the services that they provide. $200,000 of this was provided by Minowara House, and a further $500,000 was secured by them from Lottery West. Lastly, he says that it would seem an injustice that an organisation that has provided...
Julianne, I might just bring you to a close there.
Oh, okay, can I just say my last...
I think we have to draw it there, otherwise it's unfair to the other group.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your deputation. Councillors, do we have any questions? No, I don't think so. So thank you very much for your deputation. That brings us to applications for leave of absence. We have a few. So I will, we have, I don't think it's up to date. I think, yeah, but we need to show it on the screen, don't we? We've got 3 applications for leave of absence. So one from Councillor Silver, one from Councillor Busby and another one from Councillor Mosey. So they are there on your screen. So the one for Councillor Silver is from Saturday the 14th of September 2024 to Saturday the 5th of October 2024 inclusive. Councillor Busby has the 14th of October to the Tuesday the 31st of December 2024. And Councillor Mosey has a period from the 30th of September to Tuesday the 8th of October 2024. Could I have someone move those leave of absences? Thank you. Councillor Camder has moved. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you. That's carried. Okay. That one's finished, wasn't it? Now we have petitions. Are there any petitions for presentation tonight? If not, we'll move forward. Confirmation of minutes. Could I have someone confirm that the minutes which are attached in the back of this agenda represent a true and correct record of the last full council meeting? Councillor Stoneham, thank you. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. Announcements by the person presiding. Without discussion, they're somewhere around. Given that we've got rather a large agenda to get through and we've had 3 deputations already, I might just take those as read and not comment about them tonight. So you can read them at your leisure, councillors. And for those of you who are busting your necks to see them, they will be printed in the next agenda for public consumption. Questions by members, of which due notice has been given. Without discussion, there isn't any. So that brings us to 10 reports. Technical Services Committee meeting held on the 2nd of September.
Yep.
Councillor Busby.
Happy to move the minutes of Technical Services Committee held on the Monday 2nd of September, subject to any corrections, which I don't have any.
Thank you. Councillor Busby has moved receipt of those minutes. Do we have anyone opposed? Thank you, that's carried. Move into the agenda proper. We have on page 9, the first item, 1.2, Forest Road Tree Protection Plan and Clearing Proposal. Councillor Wallinga.
Sir, I need to declare proximity interest in all the subjects because I have a land in this area.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Councillor Wallinga.
I'd like to move an alternative motion, please. Essentially option 3, with a few extra words that I've passed on to the Minutes Secretary.
Councillor Wallinga, could you speak into your microphone a bit more, please?
Sorry.
Just conscious that we are practicing for our live streaming,
Yes.
and at the moment we can't hear you. So
Sorry.
it might need turning.
Yes.
It might need turning up. There is a volume button there.
Sorry. Which one? Oh, right. Is that better? Is it getting louder?
No.
No. Okay. I'm sorry. So basically the intent was that the redesign, should I speak to it or should I let people read it or should I explain it and then speak to it? How would you like me to proceed? Well, then I'll just proceed with explaining firstly that the option 3 had another part and then this part about the revision of the design. And rather than just a broadly statement of a redo the whole design, it's really quite targeted. There is a section of trees from 605 to 612 are the tree numbers. They are just the flooded gums coming close to 11th roundabout but not interfering with the roundabout, and they sit currently on the edge of a median reserve, and the suggestion is that you might widen the median reserve to retain those and to provide some direction. There's a traffic lane or cycleway widths that could be reduced, and so may I speak to that immediately? Okay, so the trees in question, this 605 to 612, they were identified in the arborist report and by the environmental consultants as high value retention trees. They had high Helliwell values. They're up to 100 years old and they are the local native trees. So obviously there's quite a number of trees that might be removed from the area, but they're not necessarily locally native trees, so there might not be the same cultural heritage significance to the area. So that is why I would target those specific trees. Also, those specific trees, as I've said, don't interfere with the roundabout at 11th, because the trees that are closer to the roundabout would be far more difficult to try and retain in any redesign as far as it would look from the aerial. So firstly, to address the safety that's been mentioned a lot and the Oz road standards, these standards also have regard for the retention of vegetation. For example, you know, they say like every effort should be made to retain existing vegetation identified in the assessments, and in the event that vegetation is retained, they say there are other methods you could use, for example, to put a barrier alongside them, etc. So there is the provision within the standards, although it hasn't been very well alluded to, but there is the provision for customisation in certain areas. Now, the reason why I would ask for that from the from obviously the cultural heritage to try and retain the trees, but also from the aspect of the local community that's going there, and the width of the road that is proposed is very large, and it's allowing for very wide traffic lanes such that you'll find on the freeway, and extra cycleways and you know, strategic dual-use pathways that are as wide, of course, as all of our PSPs. And so there is the suggestion that some of this could be reduced. A reduction like that, it says in the Ausroad Standards section 7, they call it a road diet. It's to improve the safety. So have no intention of compromising the safety. Keep the roundabouts, the dual use, that's all fine, but possibly we could improve the amenity of the area with the retention of mature trees. Of course, they have existing canopy immediately, and the other proposals are for potential further future canopy. But also, if we have a road reserve, like I'm picturing more like Orong Road, and I'm thinking that for the local residents this would be much nicer to walk along. It would also be easier for them, hopefully, to cross, because on one side of the road we'll have the houses, on the other side we're going to have all the parks and shopping centres. So for those reasons, I think they're worth retaining. And I also note that in our planning documents, our state planning documents talk about good design, and it regularly mentions, apart from amenity, nature and conservation, that these things, canopy, heating, comfort of residents, health and wellbeing, is all through our planning documents. And there is a new document coming the end of the year, apparently, called the Perth and Peel Urban Greening Strategy, where we'll presumably be required to retain more of these trees to help with the livability of our neighbourhoods. And so that is why I would request that we revise this design. Please.
Thank you. Councillor Willinga has moved the change to the current recommendation to swap with the one that's on the screen. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Peter. Councillor Peter, you're opposed. Do we have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Stoneham. Councillor Stoneham, would you like to speak?
My microphone on. I would just like to draw everybody's attention to the fact that the road death toll for WA this year currently stands at 128, which is already 2/3 of the way through the year, the highest death rate in a decade. So I'm wondering why we're putting road designed to 70 kilometres, but a 60-kilometre limit through a highly dense urban environment where there are schools and shopping centres. Recently, because of the massive death toll on our roads this year, the government held an emergency road safety summit a week ago on the 2nd of September, and there are increasing calls for road speed limits in Australia to be reduced all over the place. Okay? In fact, Australia has the highest speeding on speed road limits in the developed world. Okay. Recently, my home country, Wales, in case nobody could tell, reduced the urban speed limit to 32 kilometres an hour, and they have reduced road fatalities by 32%. The overall deciding factor that makes a road accident a fatality or a major injury is the speed at which the vehicle is travelling. So if we're talking about the amenity and the safety of our residents, reducing road speeds seems to me to be the most advantageous and the easiest option to adopt. Of the 10 crashes that were recorded on Forest Road in the last 5 years, only one was due to an out-of-control driver. And that appears to be, however, that we have designed a road with no frangibles in the middle, loads of space around the outside, for that one out-of-control person. They are not the norm. Okay? It is also true that people's speeds are reduced if they have things in their line of sight, so they have an awareness of how fast they're travelling. And people are more worried about hitting a tree than veering off down a slope. I would also like to say that as elected officials under the Local Government Act, we are required to promote the economic, social and environmental sustainability of the districts that we represent and to plan for mitigating the risks associated with climate change and to make decisions to consider the potential long-term consequences and impacts on our future generations. I believe that without reviewing this design, that we are not fulfilling our obligations under the Act. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor Stoneham. Councillor Peter, would you like to speak?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I need to, if this motion failed, I need to move the foreshadow of the original committee recommendation. That's I am going to foreshadow that motion. Madam Chair, I will start with commenting Councillor Soren's comment about the safety. That is the main concern here. If you're looking on the report, safety report, incident report, 64% is a right angle crash. That is normally, if you're looking on the Western Australia road incident, the average incident rate is 17%. In this incident, the crash incident is 9 right angle incident is 64%. That is why we need more wider roads. And this, my understanding, the road is designed for 60 kilometers, not 70. That is my understanding. Maybe I can get a clarity on that point. The road is designed for 60 kilometer speed, not 70. And also, there is another point is the environmental sustainability. We need to impact. Okay, in this area, 39% is of public open space. And the developer already developed nearly 13 hectares area for the wetlands, for the draining of the water. So you see, we are doing best to protect our, it's not only the tree canopy area, to protect our environment. That is what we are doing. So that is the point we are trying to achieve maximum benefit for our community and for our entire WA. And also, Madam Chair, I need to mention the tree canopy area we are talking about. So currently, if we go with the as per the plan, we're going to lose nearly 5,200 meters square green area. But after the finishing this project, we are going to gain nearly 23,000 meters square area canopy cover. That is nearly 4 times the current loss. So if we compare both, I think the current proposal is valid. And this is not the first time we discuss this matter. We discuss this matter, we ask 100 times to the designers, is any way we can improve the design to protect more trees. I am very passionate about the trees. We need to protect the trees. There is no question. I am also involved in the canopy working group, so we love tree, but I am not supporting. If you compare the tree canopy area and the safety of the residents, I prefer more preference to the safety of my residents. That is the only reason I am opposing the current proposals. And also we ask the questions, there is any room to accommodate more design change? And the clear answer from all the engineers, there is no room to change. So I don't know why we need to go and ask again and get the same answer and delay the project. My understanding, my comment is, Madam Chair, if you're not going to give the permission, the only response going to happen is to delay the project. What is happening to the 8th road? And to the Madam Chair, we know nearly the daily traffic is 40,000. Daily traffic in the road is 40,000. And we are going to build and also the school is opening going to next year. There is 10,000 students. And also there is another high school and primary school coming near to the forest road. So we need to build a road for the future generation. So that is the reason, Madam Chair, I am opposing the current motion on the table, and I am planning to move the alternative declaration. That is the not foreshadow the motion. That is the current officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Shanavas. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Councillor Mosey.
I don't have a lot to say because I think Councillor Willinger and Councillor Stoneham said it really well, but I just wanted to add a few things and maybe even reiterate a few things. So we just heard from Councillor Peter around the supposed increase in tree canopy, but you know, we've got mature tree canopy there now compared to what might grow and be there in 7 years' time and 20 years' time. But we all know the heat island effect that we're getting in some of these suburbs, and we've seen the trees that we've planted, you know, in similar suburbs that just in 7 years' time are still a stick. So I don't have any confidence in that, you know, in that tree canopy. I applaud the developer for trying to do it, absolutely. But where we can, I think we need to save our mature tree canopy. We've heard already that the standards, I believe, you know, I certainly read anyway that the standards were mandatory, but clearly they're not. They can be adapted. And the way that I read the reason why you would adapt them is for community benefit. And I think saving these mature trees just to slightly amend the road and change the standards is worth that and gives that community benefit. I think also in asking for this redesign, it really sends a clear and strong message to our residents, our developers and our officers that we as councillors and representatives of our communities want to do absolutely everything in our power to try and save these trees. If it comes back again and there's literally, they can't possibly change it, well, clearly, you know, we've got a different decision to make. But right now, we've got to do everything in our power. We also heard as well from Councillor Stoneham around the speed, and I absolutely believe that where you design a road like that, it encourages speeding. You know, I think there's no doubt about that. Whereas if you narrow that road, if you have mature trees around that road, it will definitely reduce that speed, and that, as we heard, is the major cause of catastrophic crashes. And finally, just around the amenity, I think we all would agree that mature tree canopy is, you know, so much better for the amenity, and you would think that people hopefully moving there and that our developers would like to move into those suburbs they're building for us would want, you know, great amenity. So hopefully it can be a win-win for everyone.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. Anyone to speak against the motion? Anyone to speak for the motion? I might just clarify the Councillor Peter did ask if the CEO could clarify what the road was being built to the, I think you said something about it was being built to the 70 standard, or that's what Councillor Stoneham has said, and you have thought that it's for 60. That's my understanding, that the road was being developed to a 70 standard, but the posting is going to be 60. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, that it will be signed posted at 60, but designed to 70 standards that was said it will do up here to the 60 per unit, and generally travel up to 10 kilometres faster, and that is why the posted 60 per road needs to be designed to 70 per. And I'm receiving nods from the manager of engineering saying.
Thank you for that clarification. Councillor Willinger. Oh, sorry, Councillor Busby.
Yeah, I'd like to just ask a question, if I can. So a comment first, I guess. It's interesting, so far all the discussion's been about the trees, and we're one of the councils that probably do as much as possible to do that. I take pride that we've been like that. But there's not been any discussion about the actual what that area is, how many people are actually at that area, and how bad that intersection is, and how dangerous it is, and how important it is for us to get something and a solution out there probably as soon as we possibly can. And if this was an option, and a good option, you know, I think that's important, but I'm still, you know, caught a little bit. I'm going to ask a question that probably our Pascal's not going to be able to answer, so it's probably going to be unfair, or the CEO may be, but there was a comment in the Stockland presentation that said it can't be redesigned. There was hints in the email that came out from our technical team during this week that says it can't be redesigned, and I'm sort of wanting to ask that question, can it be designed? Because looking at the width, the only concern I have really is the width of the thing. You know, the fact that, yeah, the road's wide, but we've also got a dual access path and then another cycle path. And I'm asking, can it be redesigned if they are made smaller, if the cycle path potentially is taken away and it's a dual access path and the road's put in, can it be redesigned? That's a question I'm asking, because it changes
CEO,
things.
I'm going to pass to you for that.
Thank you, Mayor. Councillors, you have been provided with a detailed question and answer document, some 111 pages. In that document, the officers clearly outline the constraints of the site in terms of coming up with the design. The officers clearly say in the report that this is the best design that they are able to achieve, that is able to maximise tree retention and deal with all of the other tie-ins, level differences, drainage, etc. that needs to be factored into the design. I haven't asked them the specific question in regard to would the loss of a dual-use path or a cycle path allow any change to the design to save the trees. We do have our Manager of Engineering Design in the gallery. I'm happy to defer the question to him to answer.
I've got the consultants on board here who actually designed this project for us, and Chris will be happy to help with our conclusion.
Thank you. I'm going to take that as I'll take it as the CEO's answer for that. The time for asking questions of the consultants is past. Councillor Willinga.
That's okay. Now I've had the question answered, I probably will speak against the motion, because that information may have helped, but I'm not willing to take the risk of going against our recommendation and that solid email that did come through with a lot of those questions. So I haven't been able to get the answer that I was looking for, and I believe that road needs to be built, the roundabout needs to be built, our community needs it, it's dangerous out there, and I need to put people before those trees, unfortunately, so that's why I'm speaking against it. And I'd encourage other councillors who are considering it on that benefit, not take out the emotions and look at really what that area is and how dangerous that road is at the moment, and this is unfortunately necessary, and I couldn't get the answers, so I'm going against the recommendation as it is. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Is there anyone to speak for the recommendation? Against the recommendation? If not, thank you. Councillor Willinga, would you like to wrap up?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, just to address some of the things that have been said, but probably because it was most recently said, it's the most dangerous road and the community needs it. No one is doubting that. Most of the accidents were happening at the intersection with 11th, and the proposal that I was asking for was in no way going to remove the roundabout that is so important for the traffic movements coming up from 11th. As the CEO highlighted, the question hadn't specifically been asked about the customisation of the road section. Ausroad standards do allow for customising of sections, and so I believe it can be done. But the safety has been mentioned, and as I said, the 64% right angle crashes, they were happening at 11th and Forest, and that is what the roundabout is for. this in no way affects the building of the roundabout. It was also mentioned that there was a lot of high POS there. Yes, this is Wollongong urban water with the Wollongong River going through it, so it has a significant amount of POS, especially towards the south, but in this area the trees would be of benefit, I would have thought, to the community that is living right there, not on the river. The tree canopy was also mentioned by several people. We're not really sure what we could achieve, especially if the Ausroad standards are adhered to without barriers. You're not allowed to plant very large trees. So I don't know if the calculations would be that accurate. We were also told that we've seen this before. This design we haven't seen before, but it is several designs in Wollongong Urban Water have been seen, and it is important that we do actually get them done because they are coming back and forward. We do need to address that. So it was said that there was no room for change in the Ausroad standards, but we could change them, we could customise them, and the vehicle numbers per day is the reason, of course, for the dual roading. So as I've been trying to say, there is no intent to affect the safety of the design, no intent whatsoever. It is important that we have the dual road for the high number of people that are there. It is important that we have the roundabout so that the intersections function properly. But I believe you could also retain a very small number of the 108 trees that are suggested to be removed, a very small number of 100-year-old trees, and I thought that that was also important for the community that will be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wallinga. I will put the motion that is on the table, Councillor Wallinga's motion, to the vote. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? The motion is lost. Councillor Peter?
Yeah, I would like to move the offices, the committee recommendation as it is.
Councillor Peter has put the motion that was decided on the committee night, which is on page 21 of your agenda. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Wallinga. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Camdar. Councillor Peter, would you like to speak?
Madam Chair, we already discussed in detail, but I just need to mention only one point. If you are not not passing this motion tonight, the project is going to delay. My understanding in Stockland is we are not giving the permission tonight. The Stockland maybe develop the road in front of this shopping centre, and then it is potentially the city's responsibility to develop the roundabout, and it is causing financial burden to the city. My understanding is city is responsible to develop all the road in that area. That is a just point, and I'm happy to move as it is.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Who is the seconder? Councillor Camdar.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Pretty much everything has been spoken. Just want to add one more point, which is, by not moving the current recommendation, there could be a significant risk involved in terms of an additional cost by the city. So that's the reason I'm in favour of the current recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Who was against? Councillor Wallinga, would you like to speak?
No, I have already spoken. I think this is a bad outcome for the city and the community.
Thank you, Councillor Wallinga. Was there anyone to speak for the motion? Councillor Hancock.
Thank you, Mayor. I am supportive of this motion, regretfully. I don't want to proceed with this proposal, or proposal anymore, I guess, potentially, but with this road widening as it is, I feel like we've been trapped between a rock and a hard place to make this decision. My preference would be to investigate options to retain those trees. I know the engineering response is it meets the standards, it meets, you know, all the safety requirements, and that's that. But they're standards, they're not legislative, they're not statutory, they can be varied, they can be designed around. It's a very black and white approach to doing these things, and I think it's really disappointing that this proposal has been put in front of us with the stick of you might lose some money or some funding or have to do this yourself if you don't approve it tonight, when we've demonstrated, I think, over the years consistently, we want to have more input in these kinds of decisions early on so we're not hamstrung like this. I think we demonstrated that just a few months ago with a previous widening or upgrade in Forest Road. So I would have liked to have seen, you know, a workshop or something done with councillors earlier on, so we could have this discussion in a workshop and try and resolve some of these matters before it gets to a council meeting, and we're perhaps not voting the way we would like to vote, but feel we have to, which is what I'm voting tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. I think you've summed up lots of people's views. Could I ask then if there's anyone to speak for the motion? Should be against.
Yeah, that's right.
Put his hand up against. No, all right. I'm confused. Just speak.
I'm actually going to ditto what Councillor Hancock just said. I think there's a good portion of us who are uncomfortable with where we sit with this. I'm voting for it because of what I shared about the community out there and the significant need for it. I'm not supporting this because it's been offered to us by a developer to do it on our behalf. We're well and truly capable of doing it and designing it and building it. No dramas. So I'm not swayed by that. I'm not swayed that there's going to be a shopping centre being there. I'm not swayed by that. It's a shame that we couldn't have asked an engineer to answer that question, because that question, if answered, may have swayed some of us to make a different decision, but we're not convinced that the original motion could be done and we could just be delaying something which I wasn't convinced that we could delay. So I think a few others were feeling I can't speak for others, but I think we all were here today just wondering which way to go. But I'm uncomfortable in doing it. I'm disappointed we couldn't have looked at it, but I think it's really important that we do it, and that's why I'm supporting it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor.
And I just would like to add a comment. Our developer is here today listening to this, and, you know, could I encourage you that if you've got an opportunity to go and have a look at whether you can pull some of those cycleways paths and maybe make some changes and surprises and make us happy. I'm not convinced it's going to happen, but you have heard some talks here today, and you never know, we might be heard and something might happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor Mosey.
I don't really have anything to add, but I just need to speak against it because I feel so strongly that it's a bad outcome for our community. As Councillor Busby said, it's a shame we couldn't get an answer to that question because it might have made a different vote. So, yeah, I would urge you one last time to change your mind. We can get an answer to that, and, you know, we can hopefully get a better outcome for everybody.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. Anyone to speak for the motion? Against the motion? Councillor Peter, would you like to wrap up?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to echo Councillor Hancock's comment. I'm not happy with I'm happy to review it, but we all love trees, but we ask the questions, there is any option to accommodate more trees. We ask a lot of questions, and the officers come back the same answer, no, there is no room to accommodate more trees. That's the only reason I am moving the committee recommendation. And I believe Councillor Busby said the developer is here, they will look on the design and hopefully they will make some improvement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. I'll put the current recommendation on page 21 to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you. That recommendation has passed. If we move now to page 22, 2.1, Wirrawilla main residence. The recommendation coming on page 36.
Madam Chair, I would like to move an alternative recommendation to the current recommendation on the table. That's the option number 4, renovate and public and enable public use. The reason, Madam Chair, I'm moving this alternative motion because there is no point of holding it. And we don't know when the master plan is coming out. So my suggestions without holding, because we already spent millions of dollars, I think $500,000 already, we spent already more than $500,000, and we allocated $365,000 for every year, and we holding current proposals, office's recommendation. We discuss same thing 100 times, and I think this is coming to the 3rd time to the council. We have to take a decision and move forward. So reading this office's recommendation, I believe item number 4 may be a good option. The public can use it, and we can get some financial benefit from the, we can rent out the properties to someone who need it. So there may be a financial benefit, and also we can keep the, we can satisfy the people who love heritage. I also love heritage. So that is the reason I am moving the alternative motion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Councillor Peter is moving option number 4. Thank you. If I was going to ask if anyone was opposed. Councillor Busby, you're opposed. Could I ask if there's a seconder for that motion? Councillor Mosey has seconded. Councillor Peter, you've already a little bit spoken. Would you like to speak again, or no? Thank you. Councillor Mosey, would you like to speak?
I'm a little bit too shocked, really, to speak too much. It's not actually my preferred option, but I sort of made a commitment off the back of an item we got at our annual electors meeting that we should automatically have a seconder, so I would like to hear the debate. My preferred option is to have a master plan, and then that may well be that the decision is option 4. So I'm certainly not speaking for it, but I'm happy to second it, to hear the debate.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. Councillor Busby,
Yeah.
would you like to speak?
Sure. I'm surprised because that's, out of anything I was preparing for, that wasn't one of them. So out of every discussion, every workshop, everything we've ever talked about, at the probably 3 committee meetings that's come up and then our workshop, that's never been one that was brought up as someone supporting. So if we'd been recorded, it'd be awesome. So, yeah. But look, I am going to foreshadow that if this is lost, that we hold it. And it's interesting enough that quite a few of us from earlier on in the piece were quite for knocking it down. But the further we've gone along and the more we've probably heard a little bit more of a history and a little bit of this, a little bit of that, it's changed my mind to hold it until we do a master plan. And I've been on council a while, and it's reminded me when we've done the master plans for Gwyn Park and John Dunn and Craig Park and Skate Park out of Forestdale and all that stuff, it has been amazing as we started to put those together how things changed and ideas changed. And I think the use of this building, I'm a bit nervous, always am nervous, you know, holding $250,000, $300,000 in case we do knock it down ultimately. But then I'm not nervous holding it that if we then able to build something around it and it becomes a cafe, it becomes a garden shop, it becomes something, certainly would never support it being public and somebody living in it. That's right in the middle of where all the tourists are going to come, that's where all the coffee's going to be, and, you know, I'm not sure it's someone living there, a gardener, it's just ever going to work. So, you know, I'm going to foreshadow holding it for now, and I think hopefully we can speed the master plan up and the other plans that we heard at the committee, and then we can get a really, really good outcome. I'm also nervous in, you know, potentially knocking something down or building something if we don't get it right, because, you know, like we talked about trees, you know, we only get one go at keeping or knocking them down. Well, this is a heritage, historical building in our area, not so much a heritage statewide, and so I'm against that proposal, and hopefully we can hold it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Is there anyone to speak for the recommendation?
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes, the CEO.
Yeah, so to CEO, if we need to get a master plan, how many months, years it will take?
Through the chair, I cannot give you a definitive time, Councillor Dina, on the master plan, and I guess the greatest degree of uncertainty comes with seeking the approval of the Department of Heritage. So whether what we produce is acceptable, how many revisions we may have to do, is out of our control. We also, in order to inform that plan, have to complete the Aboriginal Cultural Heritage study as well. And again, that is a lengthy process of which we are not in control of all of the approvals. So there's a number of informing, and the other plan that was mentioned at committee is the conservation management plan. Again, that needs to be approved by the Department of Heritage. So there are at least three core aspects of which we don't control a number of the approval processes.
I'll ask if anyone is to speak for the motion.
Just a question as well, if I may, Mayor, to clarify. Thank you. Am I right in my understanding that the city has already engaged in that process, or begun the process of working out the Aboriginal Heritage Approval process? Is that right? Through the chair to the CEO, please.
Through the chair, we have commenced preliminary investigations. So we have engaged consultants to assist us in being able to prepare the actual plan. So this is the step of producing that plan, but we are obviously trying, as I explained in committee, to move forward with a number of these processes in parallel so that we can try and reduce the overall
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. It only cost another $20,000 for us to have another 12 months to allow us that time and city officers to create a master plan. I think it also is an opportunity for us to recognise that we have had community concern, particularly through CHAG and their responses in the provided to us in the report. I think it would be a disservice to them and the idea of having that consultative committee if we perhaps don't at least take into consideration their advice. So I think that does allow us to do that with going with the number 2 hold option. And as previously mentioned by Councillor Busby, that it's a unique opportunity where we can't rebuild the building if we change our mind. So I think that's something for us to really appreciate. So it's a one-off kind of situation that we're in. So I think it'd be great for us to actually really, give us that due sort of diligence, as it were, where we do really completely understand and give time for that master plan to know what we do, and then we reassess and reevaluate. It might very well be that we do decide to knock it down or whatever the case is, but I think it's good for us to take those 12 months to actually consider what we do. And it does have value in that building in itself, from the officers' reports through CHAG, and also through just wider members of the community. I've had a number of people speak to me over the last few months that have come up just off their own bat when I've been at community events, that they have raised, genuine concern of what council is going to do with this. So I think that there is this inherent understanding amongst members of our community that really do see value, not only in the gardens, but of the building as well. So for that reason, I would be liking it to vote for the hold recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. I think you were speaking for the foreshadowed motion. Sort of. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Against the motion? If not, I will hand over to Councillor Peter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am happy to hold the project. If we can get a master plan within 1 year, I am not worried about 20,000. I am happy to hold it. If we can get an answer, the master plan will be ready, and the cost maybe 200,000 or $1 million. If okay, that will cost $1 million. But if we have a date, within 1 year, we go have a master plan and we going to do it. That's fine. But now we in uncertainty. We're discussing this month nearly 6 months. I think this come to 3rd or 4th times, and there is no answer. And we still be taking a decision. Hold it. It is wasting officers' time. We don't have enough staff. So we discussing matter and ask them to go and hold it, and we will come back. And we allocate nearly 345,000 capex for every year, and the maintenance cost. So after 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, they come back and say, oh, we can't do it. So it is a potential financial loss to the city. So we take a decision. Okay, we can either demolish or we can renovate and give to the public. We need to take a decision. So it's no point of holding. It's not the first time coming to the council meeting. It's, I think, many times. So I go to options. I think spend 1.5 million and renovate it and give to the public, and the people can go in and they can enjoy. That's a good thing. And we can open a coffee shop there. Okay, and I request all the councillors support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. I will put Councillor Peter's option of number 4, renovate public. So renovate to the public, to enable public to use the facility. All those in favour? Councillor Peter, thank you. So the motion, all those against? Thank you. The motion is lost. Councillor Busby.
I'd like to move the motion, their original recommendation, to retain the structure until the master plan is approved.
Thank you, Councillor Busby.
I mean, I don't really need to speak into it, but I would say, just in answer to something Councillor Peter said, to try and put a time limit on a master plan just doesn't work. We've done enough of them with all those ones I nominated before, and it's got to go to community consultant, it's got to go to this, consultation, you've got to go through your process. To put a 12-month time limit, it just doesn't work like that. So I'm happy for that motion as it is, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Do we have anyone opposed? Councillor Hancock is opposed. Councillor, do we have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Keogh has seconded. Councillor Busby, would you like to speak?
Not for very long, Mayor. I think quite a few of us over the time have changed our minds on whether we should demolish it or do an interpretive demolition to really get an understanding that, again, we've only got one chance with this, and if we don't get it right, it's something we can never bring back. So, to hold it to a short period of time, 12, 18 months is a short period of time in the scheme of the type of developments we do. Just look how long it took us to build Rolling Stone Theatre and a fire station, and we're pretty used to things taking a little time. So to me, I'm happy to wait for a master plan and make sure that whatever we do here, it's a long-term something for that garden, which could be amazing. So that's the reason I'm suggesting we hold it. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Councillor Keogh, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I don't really have anything to add apart from agreeing with Councillor Peters' comment that it would be prudent for us to question where that $300,000 is going annually. So I'm quite happy for us to look at that as the time goes on or in our next budget deliberations. But yes, agree with what has been said by other councillors previously, so thank you.
Councillor Hancock, would you like to speak?
Thank you. I guess firstly, in the unlikely event that this motion is lost, I would like to foreshadow an alternative motion being the original recommendation of the report for option 1 to demolish the building. I think we've done our due diligence. Obviously, I haven't been here for the last 7 weeks. I haven't been on the same journey as everybody else to get to this point where there seems to be a general acceptance of holding onto the building and investigating some options into the future. In my mind, this is a building that has little to no heritage integrity. It doesn't have character. It's not special to this site. The location in the site is special. Does it have to be a building that's in that location? Not necessarily. Does it have to be that building? Absolutely not. I'd love the idea of having something in the middle there, ideally a coffee shop, that would be great, but a nursery or whatever, or a few different things, amazing. Let's purpose build something that can actually deliver good outcomes to the city, to the people who are going to use that facility and visitors. Like, we've got expert advice from various sources outlining why this isn't a special building and why it isn't heritage, and we're second guessing that, and just, you know, hoping maybe one day there will be some justification from a heritage perspective to keep this building, when I just don't think it's going to come. If people want to keep the building because they think it's cool, okay, fine, like that's people's personal decisions. But to keep it on the basis that they think that potentially maybe we'll discover some heritage value, I just don't see it, and I think we're wasting money, which is why I'm not supportive of the recommendation and why I would support option 1.
Thank you, Councillor Hancock. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Anyone to speak against the motion? I might just speak for the motion, and I agree. You have not been on the journey, on the same journey that all of us have been on, and I can't speak for how anyone would vote on that experience, but there has been a lot of discussion. There has been the additional point put forward about interpretive retention. So identifying some significant elements of the building and then retaining those in situ, which would mean a very careful demolition, and that was one of the options. Another option is adaptive reuse, so that acknowledging that that the building itself doesn't qualify for state heritage listing, so there is no architectural heritage as far as the state goes, but it is an important building for the community, and although it is probably in its current form unusable as a community building, if we went for something like adaptive reuse, and I'm talking to a planner who's in the room with us at the moment and knows about adaptive reuse, that is something that can occur to old buildings to make them functional and fulfil a role that is, I guess, more in line with the use of the entire site and its future going forward. So without a master plan, I think that we are having some difficulty over which one of those style of acknowledgement of the history of the building and its place in the garden, and then which bits to take away, if at all. So I think without a master plan, we would struggle to make the right decision, and I would like to see a master plan first. So that's why I'm supporting the recommendation that came from committee to hold the building for that year, or 11 months, or 13 months, or whatever time it takes to get a bit more detail. Thank you, and I will hand back to Councillor Busby to wrap up.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I think you answered some of the stuff that I wrote down in answer to Councillor Hancock, and you're certainly right. In the 7 weeks you're away there, this did come up a few times, and it was very interesting in how the direction changed for quite a few people who all started off like that and probably changed. I think what came out was the local historical value of not. I think it's not the building. I think what came out was parts of that building, you know, like the stove, some other bits and pieces. And then we couldn't work out, without knowing the plan for the actual garden itself and how we want the people flow and how we want everything else, we're trying to come up with an interpretive thing versus this without knowing where the rest was going to go. We didn't to just knock it down and try and store those things without knowing what to do. It tended to change change me anyway, to be willing to do this. So without knowing all that information, you know, to knock it down, we are going to demolish some things that do have historical value and importance in the area, into the community and people of the community. So initially we're all agreed that we need to keep those items, but didn't know what to do with them. So I think we've all fallen, not all of us, but have fallen comfortably on holding it for now until, and hopefully we have a good win with the master plan. But once we know where we're going, I think we could utilise some of those items and come up with something pretty good, because we are good at doing that. So thanks, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Busby. I will put the current recommendation of hold to the meeting. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you. The motion is won. Thank you, councillors, for a respectful debate. If we could now move to page 37, 1.1, Rabbit Control Management Plan, with the recommendation coming on page, Councillor Mosey.
I just need to declare a non-financial potential conflict of interest, given I am a Habitat Links participant. No rabbits on my place though, so happy to set that aside and make a judgment on this item on its merits.
Thank you. The recommendation comes on page 40.
I have to declare the same interest as Councillor Mosey, because I'm also a Habitat Links participant and I have lots of rabbits.
Thank you very much for those declarations. Councillors, we have the recommendation on page 45. Page 46, Rivers Regional Council to subsidiary. The recommendation coming on page 50. Councillor Busby, are you prepared to move all those items which have not already been dealt with?
So moved, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Busby has moved all items that have not already been dealt with. If we could, I'll ask if there's anyone opposed. No one opposed. Thank you. That's carried. Now we have the minutes of the Community Services Committee meeting. Deputy Chair, are you willing to move receipt of those minutes?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I move receipt of the minutes of the Community Services meeting held on the 3rd of September 2024, subject to any corrections, of which I have none.
Thank you very much. If we move into the agenda, we do have 1.1 is the confidential report for Reg Williams Pavilion. What I propose is that we leave that till the confidential items so that we can get through the rest of the meeting without having dealt with this first, or would you prefer to shut the doors now and have the discussion? Open to ideas about that. We don't have any public left in here, so wouldn't make much of a difference.
I just move we shut the doors and do it now then, same time.
Thank you. If you'd like to discuss the confidential attachments, which I'm assuming we do, if we could just shut the doors, thank you, and we will... 859 1.2 Annual Progress Report of the Sub-Level Social Priorities, with the recommendation on page 62, page 63, 2.1 Display of club memorabilia at community facilities.
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I'd also like to foreshadow a change to that, and I'd like to remove point 3.
Thank you. So you're not foreshadowing, you are moving
moving to change the recommendation, remove point 3.
Thank you. Councillor Busby has suggested that we remove point 3 from the recommendation. Do I have anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. Councillors' items, do I have anyone, sorry, is the Deputy Chair willing to move all the items that we have not already dealt with?
Yes, so moved.
Thank you. That's Deputy Chair has moved. Is there anyone opposed? No, thank you, that's carried. Brings us to the Chief Executive Officer's report of the 9th of September 2024. Could I have someone move receipt of that report? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Is there anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Thank you. That's carried. That takes us to the one and only item in the report, 1.1 Councillors' Information Bulletin, issue number 14/2024. Councillor Smith has moved the recommendation on the bottom of page 75. Is there anyone opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. That's carried. Takes us back to the beginning of the agenda, and we are now at point 11, motions of which previous notice have been given. We don't have any urgent business approved by the person presiding or by decision. There isn't any. Ooh, my stomach is rumbling. Page 13, matters for referral to standing committees without discussion. Thank you. Councillor Mosey, I saw you first.
Thank you. I've got 6, sorry, but they'll be quick. So the first one is procurement policy review to corporate services. The next one is a live bin audit and community engagement to tech services. And the third one, containers for change to community services. A repair cafe to community services. Waste avoidance education to tech services, and a single-use ban at city events to community services, please. And yes, I know I'll never go on another conference.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. Councillor Keogh.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have one, so I don't win. But my item is ICT infrastructure and lighting in council chamber to corporate services, please.
Are there any further matters for referral to standing committees? Next one. Thank you. Matters requiring confidential consideration. We've just done that, and that brings us to closure at 8:52 p.m. Thank you very much, councillors.